Darcia Narvaez. In this presentation with her, you will learn about the Evolved Nest. This organization supports mothers and children through community care, affectionate touch, and nature connected practices. Essential in early years, it fosters a wellness oriented neurobiology in children, impacting health and sociality. Providing this nurturing environment is an ethical imperative due to its long term societal and planetary benefits. I'm really, really interested and intrigued to know that Darcia Narvaez is bringing us a very, very holistic approach to prenatal education. And the title of her talk is Humanity's Evolved Nest, Promoting Lifelong Wellness. Please join me in welcoming Darcia Narvaez.
Hello, hello. So wonderful to be with you and to be with such wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. Pardon me
Yes.
for okay.
So our wellness pathway, it's really good news. So let's get into it. So our wellness pathway is about it promotes wellness throughout life, and it starts with a sense of the sacred responsibility to honor children's well-being. And of course, this means mother's well-being. So mothers and children go together. And throughout life, we maintain connectedness, that the child never feels separate, never isolated on purpose, never put in distress. And so we meet the basic needs of that child, the mother and child, through what we call the evolved nest. That's going to promote health and thriving, the way Dr. Chital has spoken about. And that fosters a heart-minded individual and community members. And then those community members develop a know-how for living well on Earth, a holistic, compassionate, regenerative lifestyle. Traditional societies know this. We've known it for millions of years, but in recent times, we've gotten distracted with other things and forgot this pathway, especially in the United States. So what does this do for the child? Well, it means that they get off to a very healthy start from gestation, from conception and on. Actually, it builds a primal health system. So that's physiological, psychological, spiritual kind of their purpose, their uniqueness is supported from the evolved nest provision. So this is the evolved nest that we've looked at. It comes from, most of it comes from the civilization in which our ancestors all lived, hunter-gatherer civilization, and we can see that these are the practices that lead to happiness and health and wholeness and a sense of being part of the earth community. So they start, and I'm sorry, the typo there, they start with a welcoming social climate, and that means that mother and father are welcoming in the ways that Dr. Chital was talking about, to be very aware of what they're doing when they conceive a child. And then the welcoming continues when the mother is pregnant, the community is supportive, and then when the child arrives, all sorts of welcoming. Throughout life, we need this. We need to feel like we matter, right? And then there's soothing perinatal experiences, which I'll talk about in a moment. Multiple nurturers. So it's not just mother and father that are caring for the young, especially babies who need 24/7 nurturing touch. It's a community that supports the family. And these are nurturers who are warm and responsive, and they provide lots of positive touch. For babies, a lot of moving touch, no negative touch that has ill effects long term. The breastfeeding is child-directed, and then there's lots of play, self-directed play. And I'll go through each of these very quickly in a moment. And then nature immersion and attachment to nature, because we co-evolved with nature and need nature to feel whole and to understand that we are part of the whole, right? And then regular healing practices, because we get out of sorts, we get out of balance. And so children and adults all need to have regular times of and community practices that get them back in balance. So the welcoming climate is the one that is for everyone. And as I mentioned, it starts with mom and dad, and even before that, prior generations. For the young child, the feeling here, Jean Liedloff talks about what that feels like to be welcome. The feeling appropriate to an infant in arms is his feeling of rightness or essential goodness, the premise that he is right, good, and welcome. Without that conviction, a human being of any age is crippled by a lack of confidence, a full sense of self, of spontaneity, of grace. So we want to always help the young baby, well, everybody, but especially during these early years when the brain is developing so quickly and all sorts of skills are being developed to get along with others and to understand the self and one's body. All this requires a very nurturing environment, and welcoming is part of that. The second aspect of the nest for young children is support and scaffolding in the perinatal period. Now, this means for mothers too. So the mother feels supported by others. That gestation then is a good for the child, good nutrition and no toxins are experienced. And then the baby decides their birthday. Babies vary by how long they want to stay in the womb, by 55 days. When doctors decide the birthday, that's kind of not the way it's supposed to work. The baby is to decide because their development varies by individuals, whether they're ready to come out and breathe, learn how to breathe. Birth follows the natural rhythms of the child and mother without drugs. They're not needed if you know how to, respond to your body and allow the hormones to flow back and forth. There needs to be no fear or control of the systems of the body, the fetus, and the mother. And the mom needs to follow those instincts, what we call animal instincts. And the hormones are going to protect both of them from toxic stress. And the child stays with the mother after birth. There's no separation that interferes with bonding, interferes with all sorts of things. And they relax together into deep bonding. They both lay in for weeks, they're supported, and mother doesn't have to go back to work, for example, but they're waited on so that they can heal, bond, and breastfeed. The third one, multiple bonded nurturers, the nurturers who know that child, who welcome the child, who build different kinds of ways of being with that child, playfulness. Mothers, we know, need support to care well for their children. And so this is built into our species' normal way of raising children. Our ancestral ratio of how many caregivers to a young child is at least 3 adults to 1 baby, because the baby needs a lot, right? And our contemporary research suggests at least 3 people in love with a child, facilitating well-being. Children do best in societies where childrearing is considered too important to be left entirely to parents. Number 4, responsive relationships. I've mentioned a few things. So this is reciprocal communication. The child is listened to. We all need this, right? We have mutual influence, and we co-regulate each other with our emotions. We calm each other down. We help each other feel excited at the appropriate times. Children, babies need to learn how to repair dyssynchrony when the communications get off kilter, and they build their capacities for figuring out how to start conversations, how to stop them, and so on. And you build different narratives with different people, different ways of playing with different responsive relationships. So in effect, for babies, their needs are met in the moment because that keeps them optimally aroused. You don't want them under aroused. You don't want them over aroused because they have so much going on. Millions of synapses are being brain connections are being formed in every uh, moment. So you want to make sure it's a growth positive state that the baby's in, not a distress state, because that's going to shift what kind of things are developing and even undermine development. So it's establishing responsive relationships, establish the brain and body wiring, emotion regulation patterns, and all sorts of habitual patterns the child will carry forward. And we know that responsive caregiving is related to all positive child outcomes that have been measured. Then there's breastfeeding. Breast milk is amazing. It changes with the needs of the child by gender, by time of day. It produces antibodies for local infections. It's 80% alive, so infant formula cannot match this. It's antimicrobial, it protects the gut where the immune system is with a protective biofilm. Uh, when it's exclusive breastfeeding, so you want to do that as long as possible. It's analgesic, it's a painkiller. It also shapes the jaw and the palate, which we have a lot of people with jaws that are too small, and so they have sleep problems, they have orthodontic problems, for example, because they were bottle fed instead of breastfed. It shapes the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, which is related to all the major systems of the body and keeps us healthy. It shapes our immune system, our endocrinology, our oxytocin system, for example, the neurotransmitters, how many we have, how they function, how smart we are, right? And our milk is thin, unlike a predator's milk, which is thick, so that the mother can go off and hunt. Ours is thin, so it needs to be ingested frequently. It's low fat, low protein, and high sugar. So it requires frequent ingestion and physical closeness then to providers so that you can feed frequently. Then we have number 7, excuse me, self-directed social play with multiple age playmates. Well, this is so important for developing the brain and the social intelligence and emotional intelligence, because if you're playing with someone and you're too aggressive, your playmate will stop playing with you. So you have to learn to control your aggression. You have to learn to be responsive, to deal with unexpected moves by your playmate if you're running around or playing chase, or if you're wrestling. It's affecting all sorts of gene profiles, and it facilitates then emotion development and various forms of getting along with others, emotion regulation. And we, unfortunately, in the modern world, have limited play opportunities for children and keep them inside a lot in the United States in particular. And so a lot of the flexibility that comes with lots of play is missing in adults who haven't played enough. And it's actually even linked to aggression, violence when you haven't played enough. So we find that maternal reports of play are linked to preschoolers, so 0 to 6, their empathy, their control to inhibit their actions, their self-regulation, and their conscience, their concern after wrongdoing. Number 8, nature immersion and attachment. This is really, again, important for our well-being, our wholeness, our mental health. It's going to foster a receptive intelligence, the ability to attend to the communications of the natural world, and you start to feel like you are part of it, that they are partners, that humans are partners with all the natural world of plants and animals. They're alive. It's a sentient earth that we live on, not a dead rock. And so providing guided experience that are open and welcoming to the natural world really helps, instead of saying things like, oh no, that's dirty, oh, that's dangerous, don't do that. You want children to have their own experiences without the interference of someone warning them about this and that. So a lot of freedom here is really important. It promotes mental health and to decrease stress for all of us. A lot of studies on this. And then number 9, the relational healing, regular relational healing to promote respect for nature, for community bonding when we have these experiences together, to heal our relationships, to heal our own body, mind. So these regular times together, ideally as a group, to celebrate also, as well as to grieve together. These are part of our heritage. These are things that help us stay tuned in to the community, help us stay tuned in to the spiritual, help us stay well. So this is the evolved nest, and it really is a matter of meeting basic needs so that every child thrives, so that everyone develops resilience and reaches their unique potential. Our wellness promoting heritage then is what I call a cycle connected cooperative companionship. You start with that nested companionship care from conception, what we were just talking about. That's going to then build a healthy psychosocial neurobiology, which then builds adults who are well and wise and well regulated, everything, and they're cooperative and communal. And then those adults build communities that attend to basic needs and respectful relations with one another, with diversity, and also with Earth, living with Earth instead of against it, with nature instead of against it. And so they keep the cycle going. These adults who are well raised, well nested, are then going to keep this cycle going. I don't have time to talk about the other cycle that we're in, which is a cycle of competitive detachment. But if you watch one of our films, it explains. And we can intervene at each point here as a professional and even as individuals. If we were unnested in our early years, we can learn techniques to get back centered. Play is one of the best ways of learning to get back into a sense of empathy and connection and presence on Earth, right? And not be caught in our anxieties. I can say a lot more, but I'll keep going. We have various tools at evolvenest.org, and this is one of them, a child care checklist. So it's for children in child care, early care, and what to look for in terms of nestedness. And then we have a curriculum that you can download for free that has all sorts of links to videos and podcasts and essays to learn about the nest components. And then we have 3 films right now. Breaking the cycle. So that's contrast the cycle of cooperative companionship with the cycle of competitive detachment. Then a little film about the evolved nest, looking at different animal nests and how ours are similar. And reimagining humanity. So it's the, what could we have as a human species? What could we look like? And what have we looked at like? So all these films are free. You can change your worldview in 30 minutes. And then there's various materials. All these are nonprofit oriented. And so I encourage you to look up evolvenest.org and find out more information. I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I was just delighted when I was hearing all these beautiful terms, detachment and coming through with the mother's milk and so much happening over there. I felt that we really wanted to continue listening to whatever you had to present. So
Yeah.
thank you for fixing that. computer thing, then we were able to see the presentation. Um, so there's a question on the chat about whether you think daycare for young children should be done maybe starting at the age of 1, or should mothers or generally parents wait until they're 3 years old and stay closer to the mother, because there's a lot of conversation going on with the attachment theory as well today with the epigenetics, and as we're saying about them becoming healthier and secure adults. So we'd love for you to share and throw some light on that, please.
Sure. Well, in our ancestral context, hunter-gatherer societies, babies are held half the time not by mother, they're with others, but mother is nearby. So ideally, you would have mother nearby, wherever the child is before age 3. But if mother can't be nearby, then I would not send a baby to a daycare center until they're ready around maybe age 3, 4. There's so much happening in those early years. But they need not just mom either. To only
Yeah.
have mother to learn, how to get along with, you get very narrow-minded then. You need a whole bunch of different people, so you get used to their smell and the way they move and the way they talk. And so it's sort of a challenge here. So I would be cautious about too much. I would introduce the child to other people and be there with them while they're learning, but I wouldn't push them into a daycare center by themselves. Oh my God, too soon, right? Then
I
the other,
personally agree with you, and the reason I'm bringing this up is there's a huge conflict with a lot of working mothers
yeah, I
or
know,
moms who don't
terrible.
have enough support system or community, and they feel, I've been at home, I need my child to start socializing, I need my me time. I mean, there's so many aspects to it, there's so many
Yes,
factors to it. And I personally found when I was a young mother that my son refused to let go of me even when he was 5.5 in kindergarten. And I kind of
yeah,
wondered, aren't other kids playing around and letting go of their mommies and saying, Mom, bye, we'll see you later? And it was
yeah.
a struggle. So it really depends from child to child, yes. But
And
primarily, you
boys,
said,
yeah, but boys are 2 years behind in development. So
yes.
and if you've had a girl and a boy, they're so different, right? The girls are ready to, boys have less built-in resilience. They have less ability to deal with social humiliation, for example. It just kind of wrecks them, right? So they really need more of the nest for longer, more play, more touch, more cuddling, more breastfeeding for longer. So I would give, boys until age 7 or 8 before you force them to do anything, because they really need the nurturing, or else they get stuck. They get stuck in dominant systems that we're born with. And then they never grow that flexible attunement that we expect a mature person to have eventually.
Absolutely. Very well said. So beautiful, because there's this whole narrative where everyone's trying to push boys to become and grow up into men too quickly. They need
Yeah.
to be masculine, they need to behave like men, let their mommies sort of
Yeah.
be letting them go and do figure it out, and they need a little rough and tough play. And I've kind of experienced it exactly how you said. They need more nurturing, and the more that they have the attachment and that safety nest from the mama,
Yeah.
it's like their roots go much more deeper, and then we see the tree really emerge with its fruits and flowers and trees and branches. And
Yes.
yeah,
And this is until age 30. They need more nurturing. But I mean, it moves from mother to father then in adolescence, probably for the boy, right? But it has to be nurturing, not the forced into, being a boxer and aggression and all that. No, it's the nurturing their unique spirit, their uniqueness. What is their gift to the world, right? Let it come out, but they need a lot of support.
very true. Carla says, so Laura says close to the mother until they're ready to socialize, right? When they start to say I and they speak well. Carla says, about the way ancient Indians used to wrap or swaddle babies, do you think it's a good practice for the whole society? And along with that, I'm going to club the next question by Dr. Janvi. is it good to give pumped breast milk, which is frozen by working women, and then given to the baby whenever needed? I've heard that there is time significance of breast milk, like AM and PM milk works differently. So yeah, I think that both
Right.
questions could be combined, and because
Yes. So
more
for the milk,
breastfeeding. Yes,
yes,
please.
sorry. For the milk, yeah, morning milk has energizing hormones, right? And the night milk has sleep-inducing hormones. So you want to mark the bottles and when it was pumped. So be careful. And then the night milk is really important for developing the brain. It's got the precursor serotonin, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it then builds the transmission systems for the serotonin, which is linked to intelligence and not getting depressed. So you want to have as much of that as possible. Um, yeah, so ideally you're breastfeeding again on the breast because of the jaw development. So that's where bottle feeding is just not as good, and it's not stimulating the vagus nerve and the tongue and the throat and all this stuff that is so good for health. And then the swaddling, well, this is a controversial area. It depends on what we mean by swaddling. Certainly, carrying the baby on your body, kind of wrapped up, is really great. But leaving a baby swaddled up alone, uh, the research shows that actually, they might get quiet and all, but they're not necessarily growing. Because the parasympathetic system had to kick in, and they get very passive and dissociated potentially. So, but I'm not an expert in the area. But I rely on Niels Bergman and his advice to not swaddle, but have skin to skin as much as possible. Skin to skin contact. That's going to help the baby grow and help you get connected and recognize their signals. Even when they have to pee or poop. If you've got skin to skin awareness, you'll know that, and you can help them without using a diaper. Wow. That's so crazy to us
Very,
in the modern
very
world.
good.